Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm joined by Stephanie Love-Riner of the Santa Fe International Film Festival. She's operations manager. Hi, Stephanie.
Hey Jacques, how's it going?
I'm really good. Thank you for asking. And welcome back to the show. I want to remind everybody watching on YouTube to like and subscribe. And if you're listening on KTRC, we air new episodes every Saturday at 1 p.m. That's 1260 AM and 1037 FM. Stephanie, congratulations on an amazing festival. I've just really was blown away by what a great job you did, by how well organized it was, the kind of guests that you're bringing here, the amount of filmmakers, directors here representing their films. The parties were really unbelievable blowouts. And I stayed out so late. I met so many cool people. Tell me a little bit about how it went in October and some of the things you're pleased with.
I think we had a really great festival as far as engagement and getting people to network. I feel like every single event that we had, I was meeting someone that I had already been emailing with. I was meeting someone completely new who maybe I wasn't aware of before the festival. And then, we brought everyone together between audience members and filmmakers. It was just really nice to get to interact with everyone and then also make those introductions. As I met audience members, I could introduce them to a filmmaker and say, oh, I heard you really like their film, and making those connections just meant so much this year.
And did you get to meet Godfrey Reggio?
Oh, yes, that was amazing. I got to be there for his Lifetime Achievement. And, it was very cool seeing him backstage. He had his apple and he was sort of getting ready to talk to the crowd. And it was just really cool to see him really in his element.
His apple?
Yeah, he was holding, it was an apple, and I think he had I think it was a stone that he had that he was like holding before he went out on stage to the podium to address the crowd. And I wish I had asked him the meaning behind it.
It must be the apple in the movie. And, for those of you who haven't seen Once Within a Time, uh, you're in for a real treat. There's a lot of apples and Easter eggs too in that one. So, what about some of the other people you met? The Bragg brothers came in. You were talking, Catherine Hardwick. Did you meet Catherine Hardwick?
Yeah, it was really nice to meet Catherine Hardwick. She did quite a bit for us this year between her Visionary Award and the acting and directing workshop and the Fix It and Prep workshop at Jean Cocteau. She really just had a lot of really interactive elements with the festival. And it was cool to see her in Santa Fe, making those connections and giving opportunities to all of the local actors and directors here who, they were just so excited that she was here too.
Yeah, I mean, she is in stature a tiny little person, but she is such a big personality and really powerful mind. And getting to be her friend, I think we were all really lucky for that. Were you a fan of Twilight before meeting her?
My roommate in college was a huge Twilight fan. Team Robert all the way. She would want me to say that. And it was my freshman year of college was kind of when Twilight was at its, starting out, but at the same time, really, really, really big and just a huge cultural revolution. It was especially being in the dorms and being on the floor with all the ladies and everyone going back and forth about where is the story going to go next? How are they going to tell these films on, tell these stories on screen? And but I will give a shout out to Ashley. She was a little bit more of a Twilight fan than I was.
What about 13? Were you familiar with that film?
I have heard so many good things about 13. That's one of the films that's on my list for hopefully over a winter break to catch and see. I know it's hugely important.
So when we did the show last year, you were Stephanie Love. You're now Stephanie Love-Riner, and congratulations on the wedding. It was a beautiful wedding. You were a beautiful bride, and I think maybe we talked a lot about your roots here and setting roots here. I think you are somebody living in Santa Fe, working in the arts. Your husband Ryan is about the greatest guy, and he's here um, setting roots in Santa Fe too. How does that play into some of your friendships and business relationships at the festival?
I think it's been really interesting because Ryan is a bit of a film buff himself. He's particularly the horror genre is kind of his forte there. So it's interesting to bring him into the festival and also to hear his input. There's a lot of great films that he might have seen that maybe I haven't yet, or a lot of films that I've seen that I really want him to see. So it's just been kind of cool to reflect on that in our community and have these really interesting conversations that maybe I wouldn't have necessarily had on my own without him being around. So, it's been really cool just to grow and discuss film in general with him.
Now, is Ryan a hipster?
He doesn't have Instagram, so that might help his cause, but he does have a beard and glasses, so I don't know exactly how we're defining hipsters these days.
We'll have to have him on at some point, get to the bottom of that. So, I know another friend you've become really close with is Guillermo Tilly at Jean Cocteau. He's a wonderful guy. Maybe you want to give him a little shout out.
Oh, absolutely. Guillermo is one of the best people here in the arts community in Santa Fe. He's always coming up with new ways to bring performance and writing and music into film, and having how all of those different components of the arts sort of work together. And it's just so unique to see someone in charge of this theater, but it's not just a theater, it's Jean Cocteau and Beastly Books. It's really a whole arts corner and literature corner. There's always something going on, and he is working so hard to make that happen. Week after week after week. He doesn't stop.
I guess we talked a little bit about Catherine Hardwick, a little bit about Godfrey Reggio. Some other notable friends that were attending were Zahn McLaren, Chris Eyre, Kaiwa Gordon. A lot of the Dark Winds team was at the festival this year since they're shooting at Camel Rock Studios. Did you get to connect with any of them or say hi?
Yeah, I had met with Chris before. Of course, he's a huge supporter and advisory board member at the festival, but this was my first year getting to meet Kiowa and Zahn. So I'll admit I was a little bit starstruck having seen them on the big screen, and they're just so down to earth. It was so cool just to chat and say hi and let them know I worked for the fest, and we just had a great time.
Let's see. There was also it was an amazing opening night party at Site Santa Fe that you did an amazing job with the alpacas on the red carpet. Maybe you could tell us how that went down.
Yeah, so we had started a sponsorship with Chawar, which is an Ande and agave, really similar to tequila. And they had supported us the previous year and mentioned as the festival was wrapping up that they were hoping to do a tour along the Rio Grande with their alpacas. And I thought to myself, well, gosh, if we knew that you had alpacas, we have this whole big film festival. We'd love to welcome them in. And, around the same time I was brainstorming that, Elliot at Chawar had mentioned, he was like, it'd be so cool to get those alpacas on the red carpet. And so I think that sort of started the ball rolling in 2021, that we were just looking forward to making that happen this year. So they were around actually throughout the festival and especially at opening night.
When you're executing stuff like alpacas on the red carpet, coming up with crazy ideas like that and making them a reality, I think it makes the Santa Fe International Film Fest that much more of a draw. It makes that week in October so much more meaningful for visitors and people who live here alike. What about becoming a member? I know we had an awesome members party last year. Can you tell us a little bit about membership and the benefits of that?
Absolutely. So, when I was talking about supporting our grants and scholarships programs through the Santa Fe Film Institute, I mentioned a lot about donating and where your funding can go to professional and educational opportunities. Now, if you wanted to get exclusive perks, if you wanted to get early ticket purchasing, if you wanted to get discounted tickets, if you want to be invited to our exclusive members party every year. Becoming a member is a great way to support all of those same initiatives that you would as a donor, but then you get to sort of be part of our community, get a membership card for a full year from the time you sign up. So it doesn't matter what time of year you become a member, you have a full annual membership and you get to come to our members party, meet lots of great industry folks. We had Wes Studi and George R. R. Martin at our members party this past year. A lot of great people who also support film, who maybe aren't necessarily filmmakers, but know the importance of these stories and come out to our festival every year and are just so excited to watch those films. And it's a great way to connect with all of those folks and then to also meet our new filmmakers. It was really nice meeting Keeman Greyhorse and Liz Wallace ahead of the festival this past year at our members party, and having a place for our film supporters and filmmakers to meet and mingle and have a space to be creative is just one of the best things about being a member.
I'm so glad you brought up Keeman Greyhorse because we can give him a big congratulations for his new short, I Am Home, is going to have its world premiere at Sundance next month. So I know that's huge. And for a young person who is looking for some credibility and validation, I think that really adds it. And Keeman's been on the show, so you can go to youtube.com/film talk radio and watch that show, or you can listen at santafe.com.
Yeah, Keeman has really, really amazing, meaningful things to say and depict in film, and I'm so happy to give him a shout out.
Yeah, and one of the most, I think, exciting things about, for me at least, about my interview with him is that he really admires movie makers and directors, and that is who he is, and he's totally clear in his conviction. I just thought that was so refreshing to see from a young person. And he's at UNM, so shout out to that program. They're turning out some really wonderful kids, and Keeman is right there at the top. Now, they also, Santa Fe Reporter, I think, did a really nice interview as well.
Some really great local press.
So, Stephanie, you don't just have a husband, you've also got a cat and a dog. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so I we adopted our dog Gilberto around the time Ryan and I started dating. So he's a little old fella. He was approximately 8 when we got him. He's going to be 14 this next year. And he's a dachshund mix, 15, 16 pounds, but his personality is probably triple that at least. He's got a big heart and really welcoming, honestly, to Ptolemy. I know our cat Ptolemy, we got him as a kitten on our dating anniversary in 2019. So it was right around this time of year. And right before COVID. So it kind of worked out that we happened to get a kitten at that time. And he and Ptolemy, the cat, is a orange tabby. And he and Gilberto are approximately the same size now. So they battle and play, and they've been doing better at taking turns for attention, but there's still a little jealousy around. Gilberto is very much my dog and Ptolemy is very much Ryan's cat. So every now and then when we give it affection or attention to the other pet, it can cause a little bit of acting out and barking and meowing around the house.
And I mean, are they like an unlikely best of friends or?
They I think it's actually more that they are likely best of friends, but they keep it completely under wraps. They will cuddle on our couch, but the minute we'll like sneak up to our front door and peer in the window and see them cuddling. And by the time you have the key in the doorknob and you're turning the door and opening it to go in, they're on opposite sides of the room, pretending like they don't like each other at all. But we know that they're cuddling up and being best friends when we're not around.
I don't know if we talked about this on the last show last year, but Jean Cocteau said that the animus between cats and dogs is a myth, and in the country they adopt one another.
I think that's true, especially Gilberto being a senior dog who was brought into the animal shelter. He had been injured prior to being at the shelter. He had a pretty harrowing life. And then Ptolemy being adopted as a kitten, being the largest of his litter, has really had enormous privilege. And so they do seem sort of like a yin and yang of um, just spoiledness versus not, but they honestly really, really enjoy each other's company. Anytime you play fetch with Gilberto, Ptolemy is chasing him. Anytime you pick up Ptolemy to carry him anywhere, Gilberto's following you to see where you're going. And they're both doing really well.
Did you adopt Ptolemy at the Santa Fe Animal Shelter?
He was a going to be sent there if we did not adopt him. He was, despite being the largest of his litter, he was the very last one to be claimed. They were putting out posts on social media. A mama cat had come into a studio space where three artists worked, but none of them lived there. And she came in, had her litter of kittens, and no one was living there actively. So they were starting to adopt them out and work on getting mom fixed so they don't have more kittens. And Ptolemy was just the very last one to be claimed.
I think the Santa Fe Animal Shelter is now a no-kill shelter. Is that meaningful to you?
Oh, hugely. As much as Ptolemy wasn't an alum of the animal shelter, they did wonderful things for Gilberto. When I picked him up, the girl at the counter, I say girl, she was probably a young woman, but she said, "Oh gosh, this is the longest medical document I've ever seen for an animal here." I mean, Gilberto came in, I don't want to talk too much about his injuries because it upsets me, but he had really faced quite a bit before getting there, and they took him in. They did all of the necessary medical procedures. They had a foster mom watching him overnight to make sure that he was getting 24/7 care, and they just did a really great job of taking care of him. And I just happened to see his photo on their website. He actually wasn't even in the adoption building just yet. He was going to be shifted there a few weeks later, and I just couldn't wait anymore to have him be my dog.
And you renamed him. He was originally Gilbert, is that right?
His foster mom, who took care of him during surgery, was Gilbert. And at the time, with my last name, Love, I thought Gilbert Love sounded like an old farm man from my hometown, something, not quite a dog name. And so I needed something a little bit maybe more local to Santa Fe, and Gilberto just immediately stuck.
I love that. So it was the last name of the owner was Gilbert, not the dog's name Gilbert.
I think they might have named him Gilbert. The foster mom might have named him, but because someone had found him out in the desert, no one really knows what his original name might have been, unfortunately.
Well, God, he's got great whiskers and great personality. I could see why you picked him.
And he carried a plushie all the way from the building where they were keeping him into the adoption room to meet me. He had carried a lion plushie in his tiny mouth all the way, like who knows how far he had to come. And so when he came to greet me, he had a plushie in his mouth. And as an only child, my stuffed animals were great friends of mine. So I met him, and I saw sort of a kindred spirit there to myself as a child in some ways.
Stephanie, let's take a short break for these messages. Everybody, we're talking with Stephanie Love from the Santa Fe International Film Festival. She's the operations manager. She's also an animal lover. And we're going to be back to hear more about the festival coming up next year in October, how filmmakers can enter, grants and scholarships. But the Santa Fe Film Institute just awarded 10,000 in grants and scholarships. Can you kind of break it all down and
Yeah, so I guess we can start off with the scholarships. Those are in New Mexico for film students. So the Imogene Hughes College Scholarship is for anyone who goes to a New Mexico university or college. That scholarship process does require interviews. So our committee met with the 4 finalists and had really great interviews. From the sounds of it, they really had a tough time choosing the 2 top awardees of the 4 because everyone just had such talent and such creative answers and really, really big passion for film. So we awarded Bella Edmo of IAIA and Benny Apodaca of the University of New Mexico, each with an Imogene Hughes College Scholarship. And then the Santa Fe Film Institute High School Scholarship is for New Mexico students pursuing film studies. And we awarded 2 Santa Fe students, one from Santa Fe Prep and one from New Mexico School for the Arts.
the Imogene Hughes scholarships? Those are 1,400 each, and this was the first year we awarded them.
Yes, yeah. So when Imogene Hughes passed away, her family was looking for a way to keep that memory going, the way that she has always supported New Mexico film, was a huge instrumental part in getting the New Mexico film credit in legislature or however exactly that works. She was a
Yeah, it was
huge
her and
proponent.
Gary Johnson. He used to be our governor.
And so they had really championed New Mexico filmmakers and wanted to find a way to give back and continue remembering Imogene in a way that would support New Mexico filmmakers and students. And so the Imogene Hughes College Scholarship was brainstormed and is supported by the Hughes family. And Denise, Imogene's daughter, actually sits on the committee. So she was able to attend all of those interviews and give us a lot of input into which students would receive that funding.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things about the late Imogene Hughes since we were friends, and it was really meaningful to have her at the fest so many times, to be able to award her in 2014. You know, until in her final months, she promoted that ranch that she really spent her life dedicated to, the Bonanza Creek Movie Ranch. And I just admire so much that that was her baby, that it could have been anything, but she just loved the movies and wanted it to be a movie ranch, and it became so much more. So the high school scholarships, there were 2 of those for 500 each.
Yes, so that was for Aaliyah Begay and Emma Myers, both earned those scholarships and are both students here in Santa Fe. And then I guess moving on to our regional grant. So we received applications from all 5 states that are eligible. So New Mexico, of course, and then Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Arizona. We awarded 4 filmmakers or film productions. Scott Hushin, who is a SFiFF alum, he's had a film at the festival before, and he was awarded the grand prize for that regional grant. And then we also awarded 2 out-of-state productions, one by Colleen Thurston, who's based in Oklahoma. She has a film about environmental situations that are affecting the Choctaw Nation there in Oklahoma. And then Raul Opaz Pastrana, he's working with Alan Dominguez in Colorado, and they also have an environmental documentary. So it was kind of interesting seeing the parallels in their proposals, and then also, you know, the huge differences as well. And then another local New Mexico production with director Nicole Elmer and actress I believe OE Ray, and they were awarded a grant as well.
Do you think those amounts are meaningful? Would you like to see them grow? What has your feedback been from some of these students and filmmakers applying for the grants?
I think we would definitely like to grow the programs. At this point in time, of course, we're still doing our nonprofit fundraising and seeking support for all of these funds. So if you're interested in supporting New Mexico students who are studying film, or if you're interested in supporting film projects that have a lot of promise and are going to go far, but maybe aren't getting, you know, Hollywood attention or Hollywood level funding, this is a great opportunity to support independent filmmakers, to support students as they're just learning the ropes and editing and shooting and finding their way and what they'd like to do as professional filmmakers. So, you know, having these educational and professional resources is just so important. And we're just continuing to grow as many donors as we possibly can, and then also seeking government and support from other family foundations sort of continues to be one of our main initiatives at the Santa Fe Film Institute, finding funding so that we can redistribute it to the creative people in our communities.
There are a ton of people who put on this major event, and I think you've really had some amazing relationships with some of them. I think some of them are becoming closer and closer friends of mine and yours. Why don't we use this as a chance to talk about some of the folks who put on the Santa Fe International Film Fest each October?
Yeah, so I'd like to start with Jenna Brazil. She does our submissions. She really is a huge connection to our filmmaking community. She's on top of knowing which filmmakers are going to be here for their films, and making sure that the hospitality side of things is really welcoming for them. I know when I'm getting sponsorships from hotels, and you do too, and we're building these partnerships with local places for people to stay. One of the things that we're thinking about is, you know, how can Jenna turn these room nights into making it a really positive experience for our filmmakers? And she does a great job with that outreach. Blake Lewis, she does a fabulous job. I think she goes by Blake Elizabeth, and some of her other professional aspects. She's sort of a jack of all trades, a Blake of all trades, but she comes in and helps us with our box office every year, and she has some of the best customer service, is always so welcoming and patient, and really makes sure that all of our patrons, all of our sponsors, partners, filmmakers, when they come in and have probably their first interfacing with the festival, Blake is there and she's ready to welcome them to Santa Fe and just make it a really positive experience for everyone. And then I had some new team members this year. I know we really enjoyed having Greg Ibona from IAIA interning for us. He did a really great job helping me out in the office, getting us prepared for all of the organization that's required to present a festival to over 10,000 people. He was really there to help me out. And also Rory Carrera Lopez, he was a really great production assistant this year. Really enjoyed working with him directly to help present all of the great events that I know you said you had a ton of fun at the parties, and those wouldn't have been possible without Rory getting all of the items set up in time, our step and repeats for photos, bringing all of our wine donations and great things from St. Clair and Southern Glaciers.
What about Bryce Warren? He's an intense dude.
Oh my gosh, he knows so much about tech. I don't think I have learned more about that whole side of things. DCP. It was really great having Bryce around to say, hey, I don't know exactly what this is. I don't exactly know how to proceed with this. And he said, hey, let me check it out. I've got it. I'll let you know. And he did a really great job of making sure that all of our shorts programs, all of our feature filmmakers who maybe this was their first festival and they hadn't really made a DCP file before, Bryce is there to answer questions, and he did an amazing job just making sure, in a similar fashion to Jenna, that the filmmakers just felt prepared and excited and ready for their films to be shown.
Yeah, I find working with Bryce really rewarding, and Jenna too. Same with Blake. Nathan Hollis has become a really big part of it.
It was great to welcome him back. Nathan he was in Santa Fe when I started with the festival. He's in Canada these days, but he just has such great Santa Fe connections. In a lot of ways, it sort of felt like he was coming home, at least from my impression of spending time with him. And this was one of the first festivals where I got to interface with Nathan a lot. And he did a really fabulous job making sure Violet Crown Cinema was just an amazing place for opening night, closing night, and all the films in between. He and Leah Stefanovich did a really great job at Violet Crown Cinema this year, and I really enjoy working with both of them. They're just so down to earth and ready to jump in, and knowledgeable about so many aspects of film and presenting a big event like this.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed becoming friends with Nathan. And what about Castle Cersei? I mean, it just occurs to me that she and I have been friends for a decade all of a sudden. Have you gotten to know her a lot better?
Oh yeah, working with Castle, she takes over our festival dailies, which is usually one of the platforms that I'm using to send out our press releases and emails. So handing that over to Castle, in so many other scenarios, handing over something that you would consider like almost your baby would be so stressful. But Castle's been here longer than I have, and she always has such great ideas in mind. She comes to me with ideas on how to make the festival dailies and our emails in general more exciting. And it's really cool to work with the photographers and send her those photos the next day so she can get them out in her festival dailies. And we go back and forth over all the really cool photos and just reflecting on all the experiences as they're happening, really.
Yeah, she's kind of part of that Denver crew that comes down every year for the festival. I think we also got to mention Eileen O'Brien, our MC extraordinaire. Uh,
I
yeah.
I feel like I can't address Eileen without talking festival fashion. I feel like Eileen is always like a Denver trendsetter here in Santa Fe, bringing these cool styles and very uniquely her own. And I know she and I always find each other each night to observe each other's outfits and chat a bit. And she's just so warm and welcoming. It's always wonderful to have a chat with Eileen.
And let's see, maybe some of the advisory board members: Gary Farmer, Chris Eyre, Kimmy Green, Alton Walpole. Have you, I think you've become closer with a lot of them recently too. Liesette Bailey, also the producer of the show.
Absolutely. There was a point in the festival where Kimmy and I were chatting at Orno Restaurant, and Amy Redford comes in, and we had a great musician playing, and she just starts up dancing, and Kimmy and I give each other just a look and just immediately start dancing with Amy. So, having growing these friendships has just been really rewarding, and just makes the festival so much more fun when you feel like you're just getting to reconnect with old friends who have all of the same ideas and goals in mind.
Yeah, and big up to John O'Manson for playing the music when you were dancing with Amy Redford. Um, I'm so glad she was able to make it. The movie got picked up by IFC. It's, you know, a film where she's taking a chance as a director, and I think it's paying off, and we can't wait to see what's next. We can't wait to have her back at the festival. She was just a dear, dear person and a wonderful filmmaker. So, before we go, Stephanie, is there anything else we should talk about? I think that's pretty much a show.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like to remind everyone that the 2023 Santa Fe International Film Festival is October 18th through 22nd. Our early bird patron passes or festival passes will be going on sale in around June or July. So keep an eye out that way. And we look forward to seeing you at the next fest.
Thanks, Stephanie. It was so much fun. Everybody, this was Stephanie Love, Operations Manager for the Santa Fe International Film Festival, and we'll see you next week. This was Film Talk Weekly.